Hi, thanks for clicking on this video and learning a little bit about the process of stay interviews and what you can expect in this, being an overview and a guide. Um, my hope is this will be very brief and will give you the ins and outs, and you'll feel more prepared to conduct stay interviews after this brief training. So for this training, we're going to go over the what, why, who, when, and where of stay interviews. We're going to talk about what this is and what this is not. We will finish up by going through a guide of the how-to and then follow up with next steps. I'll share at this point that you will also be getting a resource sheet that has the majority of this information on it as well as part of this training. So to start, we want to go through the 5 W's of stay interviews. First, we'll start out with what they are. Stay interviews are structured discussions that a leader or supervisor conducts with an employee to learn specific actions the leader can take to strengthen the employee's engagement and retention within the organization. That's really the key and goal here is retention and engagement. The why that we do these are to find out what is motivating employees to stay with the LSC. Our hope is to increase the number of reasons why employees stay and minimize anything that frustrates them or may act to trigger their departure. Stay interviews can be a highly effective tool to reduce turnover and save money. So that's great, right? Turnover and money, but why else though? Stay interviews, as by the research, demonstrates that supervisors can realize the importance of their roles in employees staying. The relationship between supervisors and employees are crucial to the satisfaction of a work environment. Employees also accept responsibility in why they stay, really tapping into and investing in their role and reflecting on the reasons for themselves of why they stay and what might make them leave. This also can be a form of trust building. It can also provide unrealized insights. We already have had supervisors conduct stay interviews and realize that there were small things that could be done that would make a world of difference. We call this low-hanging fruit or small changes that might make significant impacts on the satisfaction and the output and engagement of employees. It can also help to discover warning signs of when more support or direction is needed from an employee, by an employee. It also allows for open dialogue and feedback across supervisory lines. You might be thinking at this point, I have conversations with my folks all the time, and you are probably right. You most likely are right. I want to challenge that you're right on that. The question is the type of conversations you're having and the intention that we can put behind having a conversation around hearing feedback of why and what would make folks stay. This leads us to the who. One supervisor and one employee, meaning a one-on-one conversation. Now, if you supervise someone who is jointly supervised, have a conversation with the other supervisor and assess if you would like to have one conversation together or 2 separate conversations with the employee. When and where is next. The date is the timeline by which we would like these conversations to be had, which is between December 1st and February 1st. We do this for intentional reasons to ensure that it is far enough away from an evaluation cycle to communicate that it is not part of the evaluation process, that this is truly a time to listen and learn about their experience and to increase retention. Time, we suggest that it be at a time of day that is lower stress for both of you, ideally deemed by the employee. Where is wherever comfortable and convenient for the employee, be it a familiar format, and in-person is ideal in these natures. While we know that that might not always be the case, it can be requested. Now we come to the point of clarifying what stay interviews are and what they are not. What this is is a time for focus, listening, and learning. It is not a time for a lot of the supervisor talking. It is a time to understand the employee's reality as they live it and understand it, communicating this by active listening. It is not a time for rationalizing. It can be really easy to have the answer or a reason for this. Resist in this case. And if you do want to answer feedback that's given, come back and circle around to it. It also is a time to intentionally explore possibilities that will make both of your jobs better. It's not a time for no. Even if you hear things and you're like, we've tried that before, done that before, they're just being unreasonable, they can't do that. Now, we know that we don't immediately want to go to the place of no, but it can be enticing. Play with the possibility of what can happen if exactly what they want to happen can't. It is also not a tack on to another conversation. This isn't meant to be haphazard, off the seat of your pants, catch them on the fly, swing by their desk and say, hey, do you have a couple minutes later? The intention is to communicate care and concern and commitment to them to want to have a conversation about why they stay. Stay interviews can communicate care, concern, and investment in the employee if they are done well and if they are effective. And now we know that some of that is intangible, and it might be based on the relationship that you have with your employees. If you want to talk through any of this, you're not alone in this, and we absolutely can have conversations about it. So much of this is intangible. It's those essential skills of connection and communicating across, of listening to feedback and hearing it. We want these to communicate care, concern, and investment in our employees, who without them, the Lory Student Center would not be able to run. Now we get to the how. Ideally, it's writing an email so as to not sideswipe them and to communicate to them. Now, if this is not the typical way that you communicate, this is all up to your discretion as the supervisor who knows better than anyone the relationship that you all have. The goal is to invite the employees to a meeting, highlighting the following. Ideally, it wouldn't last more than 20 to 30 minutes. The intention is to learn more about why they choose to stay and what would keep them from leaving. Communicate your interest genuinely, but also share that it is not mandatory. Note, they also may have a stay interview with Stephanie in HR if you'd like to give that option. Ask for some times that would work best for them. Here is your next steps checklist. Print out the resource page attached to this training. It'll be in a PDF form and possibly shared by your supervisor previously. Review the questions provided. We also want you to find your own words to communicate them. They don't have to be the exact words, but the intention behind them is what matters. Reach out to your employees to schedule the stay interviews between December 1st and February 1st. And then we want you to communicate themes to your supervisor by February 8th. Now, this is really important because this goes to the trust building. If you want to share any direct feedback, say about what leadership of the Lory Student Center could be doing better, ask for their consent to be able to share the feedback. Communicate your desire to want to effectively and appropriately communicate their feedback and make sure that it is all right with them. We would like themes, overall general, to see what we can be doing differently or better as a whole Lory Student Center leadership team, as well as for you as a supervisor individually. If you still have questions or want to talk through it, that is totally okay. We want you to reach out either to Pamela, to myself, Emily, or to Stephanie in HR, and we'd be happy to have a conversation around it. So shoot us an email or catch us on Teams or swing by an office, and we'd love to talk you through this. Thank you so much for being willing to learn a little bit more about it. We hope this eases some tension or at least answers some questions. Please reach out if you have more questions, talk to your supervisor or one of us. We hope you have a great rest of your day.